How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, last night I was on Lisa Cabrera's channel, and she did a live hangout. It was a lovely hangout, and she was gracious enough to allow me to speak on for a little bit. And anyway, later on, Lisa Cabrera had mentioned to the royal family that there is a massive measles outbreak in Europe. I was like, wow, okay. So that's stuck in my head. So anyway, but I'm going to go slightly another route. Where are we? So Lisa Cabrera today put up a video about the measles outbreak across Europe. I'm not going to do that video. I'm going to do the video about the measles outbreak in America. So what I'm going to do, my royal family, I will post that link and go over to the Queen's channel and listen to what she has to say. So anyway, I started doing my research. I love doing research, my royal family. And I discovered some things. So before I start playing these videos, let me show y'all this here. This is a map of the measles outbreak in North America. Serious deal. So I have some things I'm going to read to the royal family, and I'll make sure I post this article. Well, it's not necessarily an article. This is the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. So, what I discovered in my royal family, something very interesting. That's why you have to do research. Do y'all know, based on my research, that this shit been popping off since 2008? So let me just break it on down to the royal family. Since 2008, measles cases. Okay, so from January 1st to January 27th, 2018, 9 people from 4 states, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, and Texas, were reported to have measles. In 2017, 118 people from 15 states in the District of Columbia were reported to have measles in 2016. Okay, now we're in 2016, excuse me, because it kind of run on a little bit. Okay, so now we're talking about 2016. In 2016, there were 86 people from 19 states were reported to have measles. In 2015, 188 people from 24 states and the District of Columbia were reported to have measles. In 2014, the United States experienced a record number of measles cases, with 667 cases from 27 states reported to the CDC, National Center of Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, which they call the NCIRD. This is the largest number of cases since measles. Wow. Wow. You know what I want to say before I finish with this article, my royal family? These numbers that they are giving us, because we're talking about 2000, let's see, they said they went to 2017 all the way to 2014, and the numbers that I'm giving the royal family. So in 2017, they said it was 118 people. My father always told me, when you hear that, let's times that by 10. It's way more than that. You know they're going to under-report it because they don't want the masses to have, unquote, hypervia. I'm loving that word. It's just been on me because this hypervia popping off as I speak. So y'all will see it because I'm going to put the link in there. Just wanted to put that out there, my royal family, that they under-report. Now, listen to this. This is very important. The majority of the people who got measles were under-vaccinated. Not vaccinating us. Don't get that shit. It should kill you. Measles is still common in many parts of the world, including some countries. Now listen to how. Now they speaking truth here, because anything is like this. Before I say this, when you are reading labels and it has the ingredients, and the first 2 to 3 ingredients that they say in there, especially the first 2, definitely have the majority of what's ever in there. So if it says it's sodium in there, you pretty much eating sodium. And the reason why I'm saying this, my royal family, y'all know that I am dyslexic. I could not read until I was in the 5th grade. I read everything, and I read labels. I'll sit up and read labels because I'm not gonna stop. And then so I asked myself, I said, well, why is it that, because I thought it was odd. I was reading a can of something I was reading about many years ago, and it said the number one thing they said was sodium, and I was like, sodium? So I went and did some research on it because I'm like, well, it's soup in the can, so why is they saying sodium first? Then when I found out, when I did my research, that if they say whatever that first ingredient is, that I forgot what the percentage was, but it's over 50%. And I'm like, wow. So as I read this, measles is still common in many parts of the world, including countries in Europe, Asia, the Pacific, and Africa. So Europe number 1, Asia number 2, the Pacific number 3, Africa number 4. They still outbeat us and outpace us on getting diseases. That's on them. See how it tie in? Now, Lisa Cabrera just did her video about the outbreaks in Europe, and they number 1. And remember the other part that I said. They're going to under-report the numbers. So, let's continue on here. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Measles outbreaks in countries to which Americans often travel can directly contribute to an increase in measles cases in the U.S. Reasons for increase in cases, some years. Okay, so they're saying in 2015, the United States experienced a large, so they had a large breakout in amusement park. I did read that. So they said in Disneyland, and nobody heard about this shit, and I could be wrong, but I did read when I was doing my research that they said amusement parks in California, and when I did my research, it said Disneyland. The outbreak likely started from a traveler who became infected overseas with measles, then visit the amusement park while infectious. However, no source was identified. I don't trust y'all asses. I really don't. And then they go to say the analysis by the CDC science showed that the measles virus type in this outbreak is a B3, whatever that is. Okay, the B3, how they identify it, was identical to the virus type that caused the largest measles outbreak in the Philippines in 2014. Okay, so the U.S. experienced 23 measles outbreaks in 2014, including one large outbreak of 383 cases. Now check out where they had the cases. In the Amish community and in Ohio. Isn't that something, my royal family? You notice that it continues to surround Europeans. Okay, let's see here. So here we are right here as I go down. In 2011, more than 30 countries in the WHO European region reported an increase in measles, and France was experiencing a large outbreak. Most of the cases that were brought to the U.S. in 2011 from France. Now this last part, 2008. The increase in cases in 2008 was the result of spread in communities with groups of unvaccinated people. Basically, they keep going back to being unvaccinated. So I'm not going to read. Let me scroll down here and see whatever mess they got here. They don't have nothing else here, but just so y'all can cross-check me, and I didn't read it all. I pretty much read it all, but I'll put it there because it's good to have this, and you can check on here with the Center of Disease Control on this website, whatever else is going on, and they tell you about the measles, being vaccinated, cases breaking out, the healthcare professionals, travel, lab tools for public health professionals, and all blah 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 blah. Mainly a lot of people in the medical field read this type of stuff, and we need to read it too. That's the beauty of having the internet. So I don't want y'all to lose sight of that. Now, what I wanted to point out, my royal family, before we continue on with these two videos, is that we know that in Europe was a very nasty country. And Cynthia G did an excellent story of talking about they left out 1,000 years of their history, and that was 1,000 years of filth. Remember this about Europe. They never fully cleaned up Europe. So you're going to always hear about outbreaks of something or somehow, all right? That is not unusual. The bubonic plague is still over there somewhere. And every once in a while, you will hear over in the European countries about the bubonic plague breaking out. Europe is not a clean country. They just did surface cleaning and put stuff over it, and sometimes it rears its ugly head. So anyway, we're going to listen to this first video. Found out something deep. So this first video is May 9th, 2017. Minnesota been having problems, and we ain't heard nothing about it because they keep it quiet. That's why we got to dig these stories up. I know I'm milking it because I like rubbing shit in. So let's listen to this first one. Listen to
the worst measles outbreak in nearly 30 years. Most of those with the disease are unvaccinated Somali American children. Minnesota has the largest Somali population in this country. And the state's health commissioner says the community has been targeted with misinformation about vaccine risk. Jamie Yukas is at Children's Minnesota Hospital, and she joins us now with this story. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning. Here at Children's Minnesota, doctors have treated 34 of the 48 confirmed cases. When patients visit, they're given a mask to cover up. That's because the virus is so contagious that if you're exposed to it and you don't have the vaccine, there's a 90% chance you'll contract it.
Have you gone a day without having a new case?
We have gone 0 days without having a new case.
Patsy Stinchfield is the director for infection control at Children's Minnesota Hospital. She says the measles outbreak started about 4 weeks ago. 46 of the 48 confirmed cases are in children 10 years old or younger.
I just finished doing rounds on these children, and they are miserable. They're in the hospital, they have IVs, they're not drinking, they have terrible coughs, some have pneumonia.
The measles virus commonly travels through the air, where it can live for up to 2 hours, making it more contagious than the flu. The only vaccine available in the U.S. to prevent the spread of the disease is the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, or MMR.
1 in 1,000 children who get measles will have encephalitis or infection in their brain. They can have permanent brain damage. They can have blindness or deafness. And so we wouldn't vaccinate if this was just a rashy illness. This is a very serious disease.
In 2014, almost 90% of 2-year-old Minnesota children were vaccinated against measles. In the Somali community, that number plummeted to about 40%. Community leader Abdurizak Bihi says it's because of an unfounded fear spawned by anti-vaccine activists that MMR causes autism.
Some parents, they said, at least measles is curable because they believe that thing is causing autism and they don't have a choice.
Ikram Mohammed is a Somali-American mother of 5 children. 4 have received the MMR vaccine, but she waited until they were older, even after getting measles herself.
What was that like?
A lot of hospital stay.
Mohammed doesn't plan to vaccinate her 5-year-old until he starts school in the fall.
There is this big decision to make. You know, are you going to choose to take the risk to vaccinate and get this long-term chronic illness? Or are you going to take the risk of trying to do everything that you can in your power to prevent your child from getting the measles? And that's a very hard choice.
Doctors say false information linking vaccines to autism is hurting children.
Do you get frustrated that this misinformation still is out there?
It is frustrating because we know these diseases are contagious, they can spread, they can take children's lives, and all we have to do is go back to before we had vaccines, where the United States had 4 million cases of measles, and we will go back there if we don't continue to vaccinate.
Scientific studies show there is no direct correlation between the MMR vaccine and an increased risk in autism, even in children who are at increased risk for the disorder. Now, here in Minnesota, health officials say it could take months for this epidemic to be over. That's because they need at least 6 weeks with no new reported cases of measles for the outbreak to be considered finished. Gail?
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Good information there.
Okay, my royal family. Well, check this out. Now, isn't it ironic that they would show us? So the question that I want to ask the royal family, this. If you decide to come to live in America, don't you have to be vaccinated before you come here? I'm just asking that question. Don't the men, the women, and children who wants to live in America, I'm asking that because I did not research that part. Will somebody let me know that? Now, I can understand if the people then got here and then they start having children in America, you can, unquote, opt out. Now, I read what I read, and 9 times out of 10, this is happening to the Europeans because they always want to rub in everybody's faces that they are the majority. Just wondering, my royal family. Just making me think. That's all. Now remember, I did that video was last year, May of 2017. That was the most current I could find out because I didn't even think to even search out anything like that until today. Okay. So anyway, that's something that the royal family, if anybody feel like researching, can let the royal family know. So anyway, now, check this one out. Got something more current. This video was done on the 1st of the month, on the 25th day, 2018. I'm tongue-tied today, excuse me, my royal family. Now, they have a big surge and an outbreak in Texas. So let's hear what's going down. Now we got something a little bit more current because this was just a few short weeks ago and almost a month because today is the 21st and that was done on the 25th of the 1st of the year. So let's listen to this.
warned about that possibility last week. Andrea Lucia is live in Waxahachie with the latest. Andrea?
And we learned about the first case on Friday. That's when the Texas Department of State Health Services asked anyone who had been at this movie theater in Waxahachie on January 9th to keep an eye out for symptoms. It's now confirming 5 new cases not connected to the theater.
I remember itching.
Paula Neff in Waxahachie remembers being 6 years old and miserable with the measles, a disease most easily recognized by the rash it causes. It's not an experience she wants to repeat.
I know there are a lot of people that don't want to vaccinate their children, and I do understand that. But measles can be a really serious thing. It happens quickly.
The Texas Department of State Health Services warns people may have had contact with the 6 confirmed patients in Waxahachie or Midlothian.
Measles is a very contagious disease, and so it's possible we could see more cases, before this runs its course.
The state reports none of the 6 patients so far were vaccinated, and that others in the community who've not received the vaccine are at greatest risk of contracting it simply by being in the same place at the same time as someone infected.
Coughing and sneezing, it can stay in the air for a couple of hours.
A spokesperson for Showbiz Cinemas, whose Waxahachie location was linked to the first case, says a state epidemiologist assured them the heightened risk there is limited to people present on January 9th.
They probably disinfected the whole place by now.
Neff was headed over tonight. Not too worried, but still cautious.
I hope they have handy wipes when we walk in. Little disinfectant wipes.
Well, the state says it can usually take up to 2 weeks, sometimes even 3, to develop symptoms of this. So anyone who could have caught this here on January 9th probably already has a rash, or at least will get one very soon. The state is asking anyone who even thinks they have the measles to stay at home and minimize the risk to others. Reporting live in Waxahachie, Andrea Lucia, CBS 11 News.
Thank you, Andrea. The Texas Health Department tells us it expects more cases in the coming days. Some symptoms to look out for: a fever of at least 101 degrees, and that rash that Andrea mentioned. It usually will have spots and can run down your neck. If you think you may have the measles, please give your doctor a call.
All right, my royal family. So, there is definitely an outbreak. They definitely are going to underreport it. But the question that I like to ask my royal family is, how do they know how to pin it down to an amusement park or a movie theater? I don't fully understand that one. Maybe I'm speaking out of turns, but I don't fully understand that. And don't forget, my royal family, please go over and support Lisa Cabrera's channel, because she covers what is going on in Europe. And so the last part of it that I want to say, my royal family, is that we are in the last minutes, seconds, some say days, and the plagues are coming back. Oh yes, they are. They truly are coming back with a vengeance. And we're going to see many things like this. No need to panic. Continue to take your supplements. Continue to separate from the enemy. Continue to keep your hands clean. And take a lot of zinc. Zinc is excellent for stuff like this. When my youngest son had the chicken pox, I gave him a half a zinc tab every day for 3 days. They popped out just a little bit, and that was it. So, and they are lying, because I can put up another video when they saying that if you don't, people now know for a medical fact, actual doctors have said this, that if you get your children vaccinated, there's a possibility that they will have autism. And sometimes I even wonder if am I dyslexic because I am vaccinated with all this stuff. I'm just wondering if that's what affected me, also along with how they were teaching us in school. It's like I'm having to undo and fight being dyslexic. And sometimes I wonder, where did that come from? How did I get that? Because I can actually feel it in my body. And it's frustrating when you have something and you can comprehend very well, but then you struggle reading. And when you're reading, and I pointed that out in that video last week, where I'm reading something and words and letters and shit is jumping around and expanding and contracting and all those things. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out, my royal family. Please, my royal family, any information that you find, let's keep the royal family informed. So anyway, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.